a great pleasure right now to have joining us on the program today, a woman you all know from, about, 18 years ago now. We all were introduced to her, and, of course, the whole O.J. Simpson trial. She was a big part of that, of course, former Los Angeles Deputy District Attorney, but she has branched out into a very successful career now as a author. And the kind of follow-up to the last best-selling book is just out, called Guilt by Degrees. We're joined by Marcia Clark today. How are you, Marcia?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Good to have a chance to talk to you. Read through the book, really enjoyed it, and first of all, congratulations on the one that came out last year, and this one I think is going to be as successful or more. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very, very much. Yeah, it's been a real incredible experience. I have to say, I never, when I was a kid, I wanted to write fiction, but I didn't have the guts. I didn't have the confidence. And now, I after a whole bunch of things happened, I wound up writing scripts in Hollywood, and eventually thought, I got to take my shot at it. It's now or never. And so after I tried to combine the first book, Guilt by Association. I was working full-time at that time as a criminal appellate lawyer, and I kind of squeezed in the writing between 2 and 5 in the morning. And so it's been really, it took years to get that first book out, but after that, Guilt by Degrees, the one that's out now this week, it's a recurring series involving characters based on my experience in the DA's office. So the protagonist is Rachel Knight, special trials prosecutor in L.A., and her best friend, Detective Bailey Keller of the Robbery Homicide Division, and they investigate together, and they started in Guilt by Association. In Guilt by Degrees, Rachel picks up a case that another deputy has kind of dropped on the floor involving the murder of a homeless man because he didn't care about it. It's just a homeless guy. That infuriates her, so she picks it up and she decides she's going to try the case, or she's going to at least put it together and give it a shot, and it's a tough case. But she winds up finding out that it's connected to a notorious murder of a cop that happened 2 years ago. And in the course of her investigation of it with Detective Bailey Keller, her best friend, she finds out that there's a nemesis that she acquires, and she gets targeted herself. So there's a lot of roller coaster, there's a lot of action, but I showed also the banter and the camaraderie and the humor between her and Detective Keller, to kind of depict to people the relationship that the prosecutors and special trials have with the detectives, because they work so closely together, and the humor that's part of their lives as well, which is something I think people don't usually see.
I was going to say, obviously your experience in real life doing it as a career, and then now having that background with all the people you met, prosecuting cases, policemen and all that, that adds an extra, layer of experience you can write about, which probably made it a little bit easier. I know it's not easy to write a novel, but it probably helped you a lot, right?
It really did, because what I can do is come up with some kind of a story. I think, here's my case. Here's the setup. Here's where it starts. A homeless man is found dying on the sidewalk. We can't even identify him. I need to investigate the case. What would really happen? I get together with Detective Bailey Keller. Now what happens? And because I had the experience that I did, I know pretty much logically how an investigation would unfold. And that does help. And I hope that it helps to give the story authenticity.
It really did. I kind of followed, obviously, your career on television and then watched trials when I can occasionally, and you add an insight to it that the rest of us obviously don't have. And I like to ask too, dialogue. When the novel writers write dialogue, I guess a lot of it you have in memory from maybe conversations you've had or heard. But was that easy for you to write the dialogue part, or was that the challenge?
No, the dialogue was actually the easier part. And maybe part of that is because I started by writing scripts where it's all dialogue, but also the experience, I guess, of what the banter was really like. I have to say that it was really gratifying to have detectives come to me and say, "Boy, you really got the tone just right. That's exactly what it's like." And because I wanted to deliver the feeling there, I think that kind of insider feeling about how the world is, the knowledge that I have, the insight I have as a result of that, hopefully comes through in the book and gives it a kind of different perspective and an authentic perspective that people can sense.
Rachel Knight obviously has got to be based somewhat on yourself, but I would think other people, maybe a composite of other people you've worked with. Is that right, or is it all of you?
I like to say that Rachel is probably, to the extent I consciously put any of myself into her, it's all the flaws, all the downside, all the good parts her.
it's a great character, and again, you said the previous book and now this one, and you said you've written scripts before. I guess you write a book not necessarily with the thought of becoming a film, but that has to be in the back of your mind, right? Or maybe it's in the front of your mind.
No, it's not in the front. Or the back. To tell you the truth, I don't expect any of the books, and I'm not really even hoping for any of the books to turn into a film. I really just want to write the books. That's my goal. That's my focus. And, the rest is not even up to me. So I'm busy. I'm too busy with the books. That's it. I got my hands full.
Well, what is your process for plotting out your story? I like to ask authors that as well. Do you write out maybe a 10-page outline, or how do you go about it?
I do. I know a lot of authors don't outline, but I do. I like to write it down because I think as I write. It helps me to think. And to kind of figure out logically, step by step, how a case would go out, and then what, because you come to unexpected conclusions. You might think in your head, oh, it goes this way. But when you sit down and bang it out in an outline, you realize, oh, it can't. It's got to go this way. Mm-hmm. And then when I sit down to actually write the story itself, I change it. I don't even necessarily follow the outline, but I like having it there. It's kind of a rabbit's foot, I guess.
Yeah, I've asked other authors of novels, particularly mystery or crime novels, did the characters ever kind of take you in a different direction than maybe you thought? And I guess you sort of just answered that right now. Sometimes that happens, right?
It really does, yeah. You have to think about who your characters are, and the important thing is to develop a backstory for the characters so that you know who they are. What was the childhood like? Where were they born? What were their parents like? And all that stuff. As a result of those childhood experiences and those, growing up experiences, they are who they are. They have scars, they have emotional limps, if you will, and they react to people and situations based in part on all those experiences. And so they're going to react in ways you don't expect. Rachel Knight, as a character, the lead, has a very traumatic childhood. A lot of something really terrible happened to her, as a result of which the whole family kind of went into a tailspin, and that had an impact on her. So she has her own emotional limp, and that kind of affects the way she handles people and her relationships, and it plays out in ways that I didn't expect. I really didn't set out to have things happen as they did in Guilt by Degrees. I definitely show how her childhood trauma plays out on her personal life, and it kind of evolved by itself. Well, logically speaking, this person has this problem, so what happens in her love life as a result of that?
Right.
And came up with an unexpected answer.
Yeah, that's fun to write too, I guess. That aspect. Well, I guess, I know we have limited time today, but obviously you still cover big trials for both television. I guess you also do Daily Beast as well, right? So you're keeping your hand in it that way, right?
I am. I'm still kind of there. I can't let go. I love cases. I love the law. So, still around.
Well, what was that? Well, I mean, I wouldn't talk about the O.J. Simpson case necessarily, but all that media, which, when you look at it now, with all the Twitter and Facebook, imagine what it would have been like now if that had happened. I mean, it would have been even crazier.
You know what, Mike? I have thought about that. It's so true. There wasn't Twitter. There wasn't, all these blogs and stuff. And had it been there, it would have been even worse. And that's hard to admit. Worse than it was? That just boggles my mind. I can't even think about it.
Well, while you were going through that, and I used to watch you on, when you were on Geraldo and all the shows, how crazy was that for you? Because you were still, obviously working the case, and then afterward, that had to be, and you were still working as a prosecutor then too, right? Briefly after the O.J. case. So it had to be pretty hectic.
It was hectic, but after the case, I started, when I did the television stuff and I started hosting, that's what I was doing full time.
Yeah.
It was an interesting and different perspective to be commenting from the other side of the camera.
Well, it was hard to believe it's 18 years ago now that started, but amazing.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. Well, we've been talking with Marcia Clark today. The name of the book is called Guilt by Degrees, the kind of follow-up or sequel, I guess I should say, to Guilt by Association. And Marcia, give out a website to get a hold of the book or get a hold of you if they like.
Absolutely, MarciaClarkBooks.com. You can find out where I'm going with my next book, and with this one, where you can find it. And then my Twitter handle and Facebook handle is @Marcia Clark. I didn't have a choice. I wanted to just say Marcia Clark. Someone else got it.
Somebody got it. Well, Marcia, pleasure to have a chance to talk. You've been a big admirer of your work, and we'll talk to you when the next book comes out. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Doug. It was a pleasure.